Welcome to your soul path reading, and the first thing we're going to look at in your chart is the placement of Pluto. And I already sent you the PDF on this. I don't know if you had a chance to read over it yet, but I'm going to try to describe the importance of Pluto in the birth chart and in the types of readings that I do. So your Pluto is here in the 4th house and the sign of Scorpio. And the placement of Pluto shows what the soul's unconscious desire is, the desire that has been causing the soul to incarnate lifetime after lifetime, because it's through desire that we separate from source and we want to experience things, as a separate ego identity. So people who have Pluto in the 4th, the unconscious desire of their soul has been to work with the energies of Cancer. And it looks like, let's see, so your Pluto's here and your Mars is right here. And from the distance between the two, we can tell that your soul has been working with this specific desire for many, many, many lifetimes. And I thought it was interesting, the similarities between your past life story and your present life. One thing that you shared with me about your present life story, how those things were similar. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I want to get into the foundation of this desire, Pluto in the 4th. This desire is to find nurturance and security through something that's external to oneself, and most usually this is one's family members, specifically the mother, because the mother is 4th house Cancer. So with this desire, what happens is, the soul wants this, it's desiring this, but it has to learn certain lessons before it can obtain the specific desire of its soul. So what that means is that a lot of times people who have this desire to be nurtured and loved, unconditionally, and just at any and all times by a mother or a mother figure, they'll be born into circumstances or lifetimes where the mother or the primary caregiver is neglectful in their eyes. They don't feel loved by the primary caregiver. They don't feel seen. They don't feel nurtured. And you might be thinking, well, if, my soul's desire is to receive nurturance and security from someone outside of myself, then why would I be born into all these lifetimes where the opposite is happening, where I can't find this security, where I feel like my mother doesn't love me, where I feel like my partner doesn't care about me, and is using me. And there's a specific reason why this is so, and it has to do with the nature of growth and evolution and how we as human beings grow and evolve. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this here. So that process of growth and evolution always takes place through the integration of opposites. This is an idea that is prevalent in a lot of Eastern religions, like yin and yang, the male and female, Shakti and Shiva, the male and female energies. So there's this merging of opposites. And when these two opposites are by themselves, before they've merged or integrated, there's no balance, there's no growth, there's no learning going on. So those with Pluto in the fourth, their desire is that nurturance and security from an external source, but they have to learn how to integrate the opposing energy. And the opposing energies in astrology wheels are always the energy that's directly across from the one that you're focused on. So in your case, the polar opposite energy is this 10th house here, which is the energy of Capricorn. So what in effect is happening is that in order to learn how to integrate these two energies, you have to have those experiences of your desire not being fulfilled. You're not finding that security and nurturance that you want externally, but you can fulfill your desire, but it has to come through integrating this opposing energy, which you do that by learning how to nurture yourself and to find security through a bond with yourself. So you're seeking nurturance and security from those outside of you, but the lesson here in this life and all the lifetimes that you've worked with this energy, including your past lifetime as a battered woman, was to learn how to find what you were looking for from within yourself. So to learn about self-nurturance, self-love, and then how those things will bring you that security that you're looking for, that will be independent upon other people and their actions and how they treat you. Because once you have self-love and you know how to take care of yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing around you. They can be doing whatever they want and it's not really going to affect you as much because you have that solid foundation from within yourself. Another analogy would be, this seeking out of this mother figure who has unconditional love for you. And as you integrate and learn how to integrate this polar energy of Capricorn, 10th house, you are learning how to become your own mother. You are learning how to grow up and take care of, that wounded child that's inside of each and every one of us. So what this does is, number one, it allows you to accomplish, that desire for nurturance and security, and also now what you've been seeking outside of yourself, this universal mother that has unconditional love for you, you become that which you are seeking, and you get to be unconditional love for others in your life. You get to be this example of, whatever that looks like for you. I know that you talked about the Virgin Mary when you were little and what a powerful presence that was for you. And I think, once you understand this unconscious desire of your soul, all this stuff starts to make sense. Why you gravitated to this mother figure that, was perfect and unconditionally loving. And it's almost like you were seeking out and trying to communicate with something that you were asked to become, this deity, this model, whatever you want to call it, of that motherly love and nurturance. Now, this desire, this unconscious desire, explains all the other placements of the planets in your birth chart. So Pluto explains why you would have the sun in Capricorn in the 6th house. It explains why you would have Venus here in Sagittarius in the 5th house. It's the foundation of the chart. Your soul and its desires create, the desires manifest. Without desire, nothing can be created or manifested. So it's like this desire creates this whole life, which that's what the birth chart is. It's a map of a specific life, a specific incarnation. Okay, so that's that. And then when we look at the placement of Pluto, we also want to be looking at, the house placement of Pluto tells us about the individual desire. And then the sign that it's in tells us about the generational desire. So all souls born within a certain date range will have this Pluto in Scorpio. I think it's like within a specific 10 years. And all these souls come in at a specific time into a specific generation because they're all working on a similar thing. And with for you, I would say this Pluto in Scorpio represents power over versus power under dynamics. I think that played out really clearly in the past life where you were a battered woman, where I guess your husband had power over you. And in this life, I think it's kind of a similar theme where it seems like everybody else is getting all the attention and the praise. And now that makes sense. Now we know why you would feel that way and why your experience would be that, because of what we just discussed with your desire to be nurtured and have that security from those outside of yourself, your family members. But there's also this dynamic of, well, how come I'm not treated like everybody else? How come they seem to get more recognition or attention than I do? And that's that power over, power under. It seems like others have power over you and you don't have as much power as they do. And now the next thing we look at is the nodes, because the nodes are the catalyst for growth, because growth happens through the emotional body, which is tied to the ego identity. And so the growth that I talked about here with Pluto, with going from seeking that nurturance and security from outside of yourself to learning how to become that for yourself, and then you can do that for others. That takes place after, or is affected by, the growth that happens in your sense of identity through your emotional body. And that's what the nodes represent. The South Node is your past life ego identity, and then the North Node is it's because it's opposite on the astrology wheel. It's the energies that are opposite and need to be integrated. So I think we've all heard stories about people who have certain life events. Maybe one person had cancer, and that cancer changed their sense of who they were and what was important to them in their life. That's just one example. And it's these type of life events that cause this growth to take place, that cause this shift in this identity that was already there and was formed. But then something external happens, some life event, some experience, and it fundamentally changes who we are. And it's this change to who we are that's represented by our North Node. After these experiences, we've grown, we've become a better version of ourselves. We've learned lessons that help us to be, I guess, pick an adjective, more nurturing, more supportive, more open-minded. Each person's story is different, and each energy in their south node is different. So each one is going to be learning different lessons and growing in different ways. But so for you, you have south node in the energy of Libra in the 4th house. South node is here in the 4th house. So this tells me that in your past life, which we always bring our past life, emotional body present into our current incarnation. In your past life, you were learning how to balance self with other. There was this imbalance of power, which goes back to Scorpio here, between yourself and your husband. Libra is about balance, and usually there's an imbalance, so Libra is learning about balance. You could have been somebody who was very in touch with your emotional internal self because of that 4th house in the south node. I imagine that you were very caring and nurturing, and you put the needs of other people above your own, which is the same dynamic that's playing out today, it sounds like, in your family relationships. And then you got to think about, okay, well, why do I do that? Why, which you probably have already thought about, this connection between your past life and this life. But, it's like it's almost okay if people don't treat you fairly. And we know that this stems from your past life where you weren't treated, not only fairly, but you were abused. So like I mentioned before, that's something that you want to be thinking about and you want to hold in the back of your mind. And I don't know, I think you mentioned that you've done a little bit of healing work and personal development work. So this is something for you to be cognizant of and keep in your awareness as you do your healing work. So in your past life, there would have been experiences that you had, which you're lucky that you have the knowledge of what those were, that forced you to come out of this south node of Libra in the 4th house, where you were so worried about fairness and, taking care of everybody else's needs and wants. There was some events that eventually forced you out of that dependence on others, because another thing that Libra rules is relationships and how those can become codependent, where you are depending on the other person or the relationship itself to give you a sense of self-worth and self-validation. So some events happen that would have caused you to come out of that and to start thinking about yourself, which is what this Aries North Node energy is about. And we know what that was. It was where you finally got tired of all the abuse and you said, enough is enough, and you stood up for yourself and you ended up poisoning your husband. Now, those events, they would have also affected a change in this energy here, this energy axis. So you got that 4th house Cancer, which is about being identified primarily with who you are internally and your emotions, to this 10th house Capricorn energy here, where the focus and the identification shifts from who you are inside to who you are outside. what is my role in society? What am I here to do? Who am I in the world versus who am I in private? So I don't know what that means for you exactly. I think I'd have to talk to you more about some of your current life circumstances to figure that out, but you might want to look up Capricorn and things associated with Capricorn and see what there resonates with you. Another possibility could be that you taking the abuse and then eventually finding ways to stand up for yourself caused some type of emotional maturation to happen where, before you're relying primarily on this person for your emotional needs. And then, you realize, well, yeah, they might be fulfilling these emotional needs, but they're also hurting me. So maybe there was a process taking place within yourself where you started to realize, I don't need this person in my life to take care of me. I can do that for myself. Now, I don't know if that happened in your past lifetime but I definitely know that's part of your journey for this lifetime. Okay, so what normally happens with the nodes is that, like I mentioned before, there's this integration and this merging of the two energies. There was something that happened in your past life that prevented you from doing that prevented you from knowing how to integrate these energies here of Aries and Capricorn with your South Node energies of Libra and Cancer. And we can know kind of what that is by looking at the planet that is squaring these nodes, and those actually have two, but the one we'll talk about now is Mercury. Mercury is 90 degrees from both of your nodes, and when we see a planet that is 90 degrees from the nodes, we know that this planet and its functions somehow prevented the individual from learning how to integrate these two energies and merge them as one successfully. With Mercury here, we know that, and it's usually some type of trauma that the person doesn't want to face, or some type of subconscious patterning programming that they're not aware of. And with Mercury here, we know that it has to do with communication. And I thought about this, and I thought about, the vows that you had took in your past life. What did you say? I can't remember all of what they were, but a vow deals with communication. It's this contract, this spoken word or written word, that you're going to do these things. And then I think when you first messaged me, you said that someone else had told you about a block on your throat chakra, I believe it was, which would all, that deals with communication. So there's something there that, like I said, it's unaddressed trauma, something you don't want to look at, something you're aware of that is preventing you still in this current lifetime from learning how to integrate these two energies successfully. And that's what you're here to do, is learn how to do that. So it's really important that that this block becomes resolved and undone at some point. And the reason I say that, it's not about, you have to do this or you should do this. That's not what it's about. It's about the way that astrology works and the way that, the laws of nature, we can't do anything about those. We don't write the laws of nature. We don't write the laws of growth, so we can't go against them, but we do have free will. So we have the choice always to say, is it time for me to grow in this manner or not? And we can get stuck in patterns where we're too afraid to grow, because we're too afraid to face our traumas. We're too afraid to put in the work that has to deal with undoing all that programming. And we can get stuck here for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And all that does is cause the accumulation of needless suffering and karma for yourself. So, like I said, this is not about you should do this or you have to do this. I mean, according to the laws of nature, yes, you have to do it at some point. But you have the free will to say, do I want to do this now? Is this something I want to work on? Or do I want to do this later when I feel more comfortable? Because there's always this natural progression.